Welcome to A-Aron's Adventures. In this episode, I show how to catch bass on a Senko while using the Texas rig. Stay tuned for some great tips and some nice bass. The Senko is one of my favorite lures to use when fishing for bass, and they come in many different sizes and colors. They have up to 7 inchers, which are typically used when specifically trying to target larger bass. And there's the 5 inchers, which work really well, and I use that size quite often. And the 4 incher, which is my favorite size, and the size that I use most often. And they have the 3 inch, which I'm sure works, but I rarely use that size. As far as color goes, my favorite is the watermelon / green pumpkin with black flake. Black, smoke, and brown also work well, and I've even seen people catch bass on neon or brighter colors too, but I usually stick with the more natural colors. I use a 2/0 off-shank worm hook most often. Occasionally I'll use something a little larger if I'm specifically targeting largemouth bass, but the 2/0 seems to work well on about any size largemouth or smallmouth bass. Now some people like to use red colored hooks, and I have tried them, but in my opinion they don't seem to work any better than regular hooks. As far as weights go, I like to use a 1/4 ounce bullet weight. I prefer tungsten weights over lead because the tungsten is heavier, and as you can see here, these are both 1/4 ounce weights and the tungsten is smaller. Tungsten is also much harder than lead, so it makes a distinctive clacking noise when it hits rocks as it bounces along the bottom, and this clacking noise seems to help attract fish as well as entice them into biting. One downside is that tungsten is going to be more expensive than lead. I either use 12 or 20 pound fluorocarbon leader, depending on how heavy of cover I'm fishing or what type of rod I'm using. To rig it up, you just slide the bullet weight on point first, then tie the hook on, and I always use an improved clinch knot when tying on the hook. Now to put the worm on the hook, you want to start with the front, which is the thicker side of the worm, and run the hook down the middle of it about 3/4 of an inch to an inch, to run the hook out the side of the worm and pull and twist so that the eye of the hook remains in the middle of the worm. Now get a slight bend in the worm and run the hook clear through it so that the point ends up parallel to the body of the worm and right against it. Now stick the very point of the hook just barely back into the worm, and this will make it weedless and help to avoid it getting snagged when fishing in heavy cover. To fish the Texas rig Senko, I commonly underhand pitch it near weeds, brush, or any kind of underwater structure and let it sink to the bottom, then just slowly bounce it along. And here's a little smallie I caught using this technique. Here's another example of pitching it back into cover, and you want to make sure you let it sink clear to the bottom and then slowly retrieve it while bouncing it along. I've got an average size smallie here that I have to pull out of the brush, and as I bring it into the boat, a big largemouth comes up just underneath it but then turns away right before attacking. Here, I actually catch a catfish on the Texas rig Senko, which isn't very common, but it helps to show the all-around effectiveness of the lure.
I haven't caught a catfish in a long time.
Here, my dad has on an average size smallie, and as he brings it in, he spots a big one with it. So I just let my worm sink to the bottom straight underneath the boat and immediately hook into the big smallmouth he had spotted right alongside his.
You got something? Yeah, you got a little guy on. Here, I'm just casting. Let me get it.
That's a big one with it. Oh.
Got him! Yeah!
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah! There. Yeah, buddy. All right. That's what I wanted.
And here, I get a big largemouth while pitching back into the brush in this cove. The Texas rig can be a very effective way to fish the Senko.
That's the biggest largemouth I've caught in a while. Well, I guess I don't got him yet. buddy. Damn! Yeah! Look at that sucker, Dad. That's a good one.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This year, my friend Taylor and his girlfriend Danielle also came up to Montana to stay with us. And this is one of her first fish ever.
I got my first fish.